Assalamu alaikum my dear students. Once again welcome to my YouTube channel by the name MS Lectures, and the topic which I am going to demonstrate you today is the ventilation perfusion ratio. So before understanding this ventilation perfusion ratio, we must need to remember the following information. So discussing the partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli first and in the blood. So we must need to remember the following values: that the outside pressure of the oxygen in the alveoli is 149 millimeter of mercury, and in the blood it is 40. So outside, the partial pressure of oxygen is 149, which is in the alveoli it is 149. So when the exchange occurs between the alveoli and the blood capillaries, so when it delivers all its oxygen towards the blood, so the oxygen content of the blood is 40, and it drops to this pressure drops from 149 to 104. So when the exchange occurs, the oxygen is delivered towards the blood, and this value drops from 149 to 104. So then, talking about the PCO2, that is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, so it is 0 in the alveoli, and in the blood it is 45. So when during the exchange, what happens that when the blood has to be oxygenated, so the carbon dioxide is delivered towards the alveoli. So when the carbon dioxide is delivered towards the alveoli, so the value becomes 40 here. So the value becomes 40 here in the alveoli. When the carbon dioxide content is delivered from the blood into the alveoli, the value of carbon dioxide in the alveoli becomes 40. So this is the general information we must need to keep in our mind. Now talking about the V by Q ratios, we have three scenarios. This is the ventilation perfusion ratio. So first scenario is when Q is equal to 0, when there is no blood but air is present. It occurs mostly in the upper part of the lungs. So whenever there is no whenever there is no blood but air is present, whenever there is no blood but air is present, so the air content would remain the same. The partial pressure of oxygen would remain same, 149, and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide would remain same, 40, because no gases exchange is being occurring, because the blood is not available. Air is available, but the blood is not available. So no gases exchange is occurring. So that's why the content of the air would remain same. It would remain 149. It would remain 40. Now discussing about the second scenario, V by Q. In this particular scenario, the Q is present, but the blood is present, but air is not present, and it occurs mostly in the lower part of the lungs. In this particular scenario, what happens that the blood is present but air is not present. So air is not present, blood is present. So what would happen that the content of the air in the blood would remain the same, because there is no gases exchange being occur, because air is not present, although the blood is present. So the oxygen content in the blood would remain 40, and the carbon dioxide in the in the blood would remain 45, because no gases exchange is being occurring, because of the value of V is 0. That's why. So now talking about the third scenario, in which both is present, air is present and blood both are present. So there must be a certain value, like there would be the answer. Talking about the second scenario, in the second scenario the answer would be 0, because there is no air present, and in the first the answer would be infinity, because in both these cases one thing is absent. So we know that according to the mathematical rules, if there is any thing absent, if we talk about the numerator or denominator, so the answer is always 0 or infinity. So but in this case, in this V by Q, in the third scenario, both are present. Air is also present, ventilation is also there, and perfusion is also there, blood is also present. So what would be the value? Now talking about the V, we have studied here that the outside pressure, the partial pressure of the oxygen in the alveoli is 149. We know that. So and in the blood, the partial pressure of oxygen is 40. So there will be exchange occurs, and the V would remain 104, because the oxygen content is delivered from the alveoli into the blood, so it would remain 104. So the value of V would be 104. Now talking about the value of Q, so we know that what happens that this is 45. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood is 45, and we know that it was initially 0 because there is no carbon dioxide present in the alveoli. So when the blood has to be oxygenated, it delivers all of its carbon dioxide into the alveoli. So the value of carbon dioxide in the alveoli becomes 40. So this is 40. So this is the V by Q ratio when both ventilation and perfusion is present. Now talking about the two terms, what is the physiological dead space? What is the physiological dead space? What is the physiological dead space? So physiological dead space is described as when there is ventilation is there but perfusion is 0. There is no blood available for the exchange. And what is physiological shunt? What is the physiological shunt? So physiological shunt is when there is blood available but no ventilation, no air is available. So this is the physiological shunt. So in this particular lecture I have explained you about the three scenarios. When in the first scenario V is 0 and the answer is infinity. In the second scenario, in the first scenario the Q was 0, blood was not there and the answer was infinity. And in the second scenario there was no air but the blood was present. And the third scenario, both were available, air was also available and blood was also available, and the answer is 104 by 40. So I have explained you all the aspects of the ventilation perfusion ratio and hope you have understood it well. Last but not the least, don't forget subscribing MS Lectures. Thank you.